But congratulations, everybody. I'm glad to have you all here. Great to have you all. Thanks for being here, and welcome to our new meeting today on the 24th of October, right before Halloween. It's an exciting time of year. You get to dress up the way you want, or eat lots of candy, and scare people with a costume and pretend to be something else. So, today, first of all, the usual boring reminder, I would like to remind all of you who are doing roles, please, if you have not already designated somebody to sign for how you are doing and fill in your role, please think of somebody to ask after the meeting in your competent leadership manual. Thank you. We have lots of three speeches today. We're excited for that. We've got a great topic. So without any delay, we will go on and introduce our great Toastmaster today, Mr. Will Burns. Thank you.
Dennis, thank you, sir. Mr. President. Welcome, Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home, to that spooky time of year. The quote of the day: during the day, I don't believe in ghosts. At night, I'm a little more open-minded. That was by Betsy Farrell. I, William Burns, am your Toastmaster of the evening, and I will start by introducing the role players that will be taking part in all the behind-the-scenes action here at Golden Speakers. Starting with our timer, Fraser Jones.
So my role is timing the speakers, and tonight we have 3 prepared speech, 12 minutes to 15 minutes. That will be the first one. The green light will come on at 12 minutes. The yellow light will come on at 14 minutes, and the red at 15 minutes. The other speech is 7 to 9 minutes. The green light will come on at 7 minutes. The yellow at 8 minutes, and the red at 9 minutes. The last prepared speech is 5 to 7 minutes. The green light will come on at 5 minutes, the yellow at 6, and the red at 7 minutes. For table topics, is 1 to 2 minute speeches. The green light will come on at 1 minute, the yellow at 1.5, and the red at 2 minutes. And all speakers have a half a minute grace period before getting disqualified. Then evaluations will be 3 minutes long. The green light will come on at 2 minutes, the yellow at 2.5, and the red at 3 minutes. And I'll be giving a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Fraser. Now, as a point of administrative business here, the order of the speeches has changed. The speaking order will be Dennis, followed by Jean, followed by Dan. So that'll affect your timing order. Next, our resident wordsmith of the evening is Ryan Prana Miller. Please introduce, please welcome.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, guests, Oh, you're a member.
No, member.
Great, no guests. Okay, and viewers at home. Tonight, the theme of the meeting is Halloween, I guess. We're going with that. So I will be listening for any unusual language, maybe something spooky, eerie, scary, anything that really stands out to me, whether it be a metaphor or anything that is just an exceptionally good or bad use of the English language. I will also be looking for the word of the day, which is not really related to the theme of the meeting. Equanimity, a state of evenness and stillness that can be considered being in the zone. After years of determined tapas, the yogi reached a state of equanimity. So that's the word of the day. I'll be listening for that. And if you use the word of the day, I'll keep track and give a brief report at the end of the meeting. And basically, my goal is to just listen for exceptional vocabulary, wordsmithery, if that's a word. So try to just come up with some good word usage, and I'll give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Our general evaluator is the unflappable Leslie Hollis, who has embraced equanimity in both her personal and professional life. We'll hear from her later on in the meeting. And working double duty tonight, Hudaifa will be our greeter joke master and our table topics master. And we'll hear from him later on as well. Looking forward to that. But now we're into the main course. We're going to forget about all those hors d'oeuvres, all that stuff. Go right into the tofu steak here of the meeting. Start with the speeches. Our first speaker is Dennis Gomez, doing Project 9 from the Competent Communicator Manual. Persuade with power. This is the ability to persuade people, to get them to understand, accept, and act upon his ideas. We will be more likely to actually take his ideas and implement them if we perceive him as credible. So he's going to be up here building credibility for himself. And he'll be using logic and emotion in his appeal. He will avoid using notes, and his speech will be 5 to 7 minutes. Dennis works as a designer engineer for Ideal Energy here in Fairfield. He is from North Dakota, where he's been fortunate to have studied and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Optical Engineering. Since around 4th grade, he has been interested in renewable energy, especially solar. And this has helped inspire him to study EE and to continue to improve his skills for making the market for renewable energy more competitive every day. His passion for renewable energy continues to grow every year, and he is pleased to bring that here and share with us today. Please join me in warmly welcoming Dennis. Invest in solar energy.
How many of you here, raise your hands if you value national security, if you value economic competition and innovation, if you value lowering your carbon footprint. I am proud to be working with a local, veteran-owned solar installation team. And I know the value that solar energy brings to you and your community, your nation, and your world. The problem is we have an old energy paradigm we are all living through right now. It is causing us to fight over limited fossil fuel resources. It is resulting in massive wars, starvation, in genocide, in hatred, and countless other human suffering, tragedies that are occurring all over the world. We can end this cycle. It turns out that there's a nuclear reactor right up there. It's been around for more than millions of years, and it turns out that nature provides it for free. It's called the sun. It's right up there. And all we need to do is use it. We need to invest our resources in more solar, renewable, clean energy. Solar energy is an investment in economic competition and innovation, in national security and energy independence, and in lowering your carbon footprint. There are so many different opportunities and positive benefits that you can get to get into the solar market and make society get to a greater state of equanimity for all of us. First of all, let's begin with talking about how solar energy and you investing in solar energy will spur greater economic competition and innovation. According to a report from April of this year from the NBC Innovations team, not only do we have more solar coming up on rooftops for commercial buildings, for residential buildings, and from massive utility scale projects, but there are obviously solar tiles coming on. And now you can buy solar tiles that are going on rails for your patio, for different parts of your house, and even for furniture. Imagine that. You can get solar from so many different things, and the products are coming out right now. In addition to all these products coming out and people trying to compete for a better way to produce more clean, renewable energy for you and your future, whenever you invest in solar energy, you are contributing to making sure that everybody in the locality is becoming more competitive with trying to give you the best value for your energy. Financially, for your family, security, and for your long-term greenhouse gas emissions. There's so many benefits of this, but we need to talk about also how we can flex our solar muscles, our nation's muscles, and why they glisten more when they are glistening in the sun. Because solar energy is an excellent way to achieve better energy independence and national security. According to a report from the CNA Military Board of Advisories in this year, June of 2017, investing in solar energy has created more and more decentralization in the grid, can be brought to bases for troops abroad and at home, and can be used in so many different areas. It helps with our infrastructure, establishing it abroad and here at home. And with the decentralization of the grid, it is bringing better resilience to our grid by being able to have other sources other than the conventional fossil fuels we have been using for over 100 years by now. This is a great value to our local national security. In addition to all of this, an excellent point to bring about is simply the price of oil and the price of fossil fuels can vary quite a bit when we are having to be concerned with events that are abroad. When you are investing in better solar energy, you are making sure we can produce energy right here at home, as can every other nation, without having to be constantly concerned over fluctuating prices when we are fighting for fossil fuel resources in many areas. Furthermore, fossil fuels have been around for a while, but solar, we all know, is a great way to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. We know that this is the case, but it also is a fact that producing solar panels does pollute a bit. You have to refine the material, you have to mine the material, you have to transport the material. According to an NREL report, a recent report from the National Renewable Energy Laboratories, it takes just 4 years or less, and the carbon needed to produce your solar modules will be offset in 4 years or less. In some cases, with panels manufactured here in the United States or in Europe, it can be less than 2 years. You are offsetting a lot of your greenhouse gases. Imagine what a greener world we can be when those panels are warranted for about 25 years for many of them. And what kind of beautiful world you can be having. People in a greater state of equanimity. Investing in solar energy is better for innovation and competition, for national security and energy independence, and for lowering your carbon footprint. Today I want you to invest in solar energy for yourself, for your wallet, for your nation, and for your grandchildren. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dennis. Please take 2 minutes to evaluate our speaker. And now it's my pleasure to call up Jean Symington Craig's evaluator, Art Atkinson.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. Tonight our next speaker, Jean Symington Craig, is going to speak to the title, Ban the Box, Yes or No? A very intriguing title. Jean is a longtime member of this club, having been a member since 2006, I believe, and is a distinguished Toastmaster, a recognition given to very few Toastmasters out of the whole. So it's a big deal. She served this club in a variety of offices, including president. She's this club liaison to Conscious Communicators Toastmasters Club at the Iowa State Penitentiary, Fort Madison, where she's also a member of that club. And she's been responsible for helping to get the local Techmasters Cambridge Club off the ground. So tonight her project is from the Competent Communicator Manual, project number 7, Research Your Topic. And there are a variety of criteria that the project specifies, which I'll be working to evaluate. She's to select a topic that is relevant to us and present a wide variety of research sources to support her opinion about the topic, Ban the Box, Yes or No. Please help me warmly welcome Jean Symington Craig.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime? This is a common question on a standard employment application, and it requires the applicant to check a box if yes or leave it blank if no. How many of you have run into that before, answering that question on an application? According to NOLO, which is a leading legal website, there are estimated to be 65 million Americans, or roughly 1 in 4 working Americans, who have some kind of criminal record. Why is this important to you as an audience? I ask you, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. First, this could be a friend, a neighbor, a family member, a colleague. It could even be you. Secondly, as communities, we have a vested interest in helping former criminals who have served their sentence to acquire gainful employment, thereby supporting themselves, their families, becoming contributing members of society, and being able to avoid having to go back to crime as the only option in order to survive. Okay, now we're going to dig into this a little bit. So what is this box? This box is where, as I mentioned, an applicant indicates whether they have a criminal record. What is the Ban the Box initiative? Ban the Box policies prohibit employers from asking about a criminal record on the job application prior to being able to have an interview with the person. Okay. So the goal is to put qualifications first, not a record. The National Employment Law Project, we're going to call it NELP, has pointed out an organization titled All of Us or None and given it credit for spearheading the Ban the Box movement, which aims to put qualifications first. According to NELP, there are, as of August 2017, there are 29 states over entire regions, most of the regions in the country, who have some sort of ban the box policies or fair chance policies. Iowa at this time does not have any legislation on this project or on this particular topic. So that's what ban the box is. So let's take a look at why the box ought to stay on the application and why it shouldn't in terms of arguments. Why it's recommended to stay on the application. According to Verifax creditable, Justifax veritable, what is it? I always get this one mixed up. According to Justifax creditable verification, it's a background company that helps employers make sure they don't hire dishonest or unreliable employees. That's the way they say it. They say they actually think there's value in having an applicant not have to reveal a record, but still be able to then go into the interview. And at the interview, the question can be asked, and the discussion can happen, and the applicant can describe what the nature of the offense was, how long ago it was, what rehabilitation activities there had been, and particularly the relevance of the crime to the job. And that can be an important and a win-win situation for employers and applicants both. Let's get that all cleared up and on its way. Justifax, however, puts out several problems to having that, not having that box on the application. So we're looking at the box being on the application. Problems with taking it off. Number one is there will be a lot of complexity added to the hiring process. So let me back up. Yeah, if you take the box off of the application, this is like double negatives. It's more hiring complexity because employers are going to have to try to figure out how they can get this information without having this box checked up at the front. Secondly, there is for small businesses, not being able to check the box and having to follow a bunch of legislation around that means that they can't hire as quickly as they may need, and they don't have a lot of HR departments and money putting in there to keep them up to speed on the different kinds of legislation that they have to be in compliance with. And third, for a larger company, because the legislation is varying all over the country, a larger company that has business in more than several areas it's very costly and challenging to keep up with what legislation is applicable for each area. So that's the reason why employers may want to say, I don't want that ban the box legislation because it makes it too complicated for me. I'd rather just leave it on there. There is a final problem, and it's an interesting wrinkle to this ban the box initiative, and that has to do with intentional or unintentional racism. Meaning that employers may, without that box there, may start to look at ethnicity or race as a proxy for disqualifying a candidate, particularly given the significantly greater numbers of African American, Latino, and other men of color. Okay. So I've got a couple of quotes here about this. You following me so far? So if you don't have the box as an employer, you may feel like, you know, I've got all this. I need to, maybe if its name is Juan Rodriguez, I'm going to just say, I'm going to assume that they have a record because of that disproportionate percentage of people of color having it. And Fraser, you're giving me 7 to 9, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Michael Stoll, who's an associate director of the Center for the Study of Urban Poverty at UCLA, said in a New York Times article titled "Ban the Box Could Unintentionally Hurt Job Seekers." Quote, "Those who favor banning the box believe it would let more people with criminal records get jobs by overcoming employers' tendency to reject those they knew were ex-offenders. While many employers do not hire those with records because they fear being held liable for their actions, others will consider applicants who have checked the box after reviewing more information about applicants' pasts. But banning the box could lead to unintended consequences if employers, without knowledge of an applicant's record, refuse to consider those they think might have criminal convictions, such as young, less educated Black or brown men, even if they don't have criminal records. Indeed, previous research I've conducted shows that employers who do use such checks, use the box, are more likely than others who don't do so to hire minority applicants, regardless of whether the applicants have records. So that's very interesting. However, there's still a concern about if the box isn't there, then employers may be tempted to use racism as an easy proxy to disqualify an employee. Now, the people who want to ban the box say, we're not saying that you can't get the information, we're just saying when you can get the information. So you don't have it on the application, but you can get it later, and in fact, a background information check is recommended later in the process. And at that point, when you have the interview with the applicant, you can discuss the crime in context. Okay, so it looks like I'm running out of time, even though I'm talking like very, very fast. So on the scope of the Ban the Box initiative, I'm just going to mention, there's one gentleman who said, it should also be pointed out that the main issue that banning the box is trying to address is recidivism, meaning having people go back to prison, rather than racism. In other words, you can't use the ban the box to fix racism. You have to fix the racism separately, and that's what this speaker says. Focus on the recidivism. We need to make sure felons are able to get work, and you're going to have to work on the racism through other policies and procedures, equal employment opportunity. I had a nice quote, but I can't do it now, so I'm just going to say, just in conclusion, that my personal feeling is that we should ban the box, that we have a vested interest in making sure that our fellow Americans can get the jobs that they need to support themselves. And when you're asked about this question, please remember the 1 in 4 Americans who have a criminal record but who deserve a second chance to become contributing members of society because they have paid their dues. We'll all be better off.
Jean, for that whirlwind.
Amazing how time flies when you're having fun.
Indeed. Well, Jean's time is up, but you have a few minutes here to write an evaluation for her.
7 to 9.
Welcome back. And now it is my pleasure to call up Susanna McCann, who will read the objectives for Dan's speech.
Tonight with Dan's speech, we have a special treat because Dan is doing an advanced speech from one of the advanced manuals we don't often get to hear from. And this is from the Interpretive Reading Manual. And this manual guides speakers to improve their interpretive reading skills, which also contributes to their general speaking skills. This particular project in the manual involves Dan reading part of a play. He's supposed to extract and adapt scenes or a scene or scenes from a play, give a little bit of a context for it, and do an interpretive reading of a portion of the play that involves, say, 2 or 3 characters. He can edit the material. He is supposed to use voice, gestures, body movement to suggest each character to the audience, but it's not exactly trying to act it out, and it's not just plain reading. He's conveying something of the different characters through variations and gestures and also voice. One note is that he's not supposed to look directly at the audience when he's doing this interpretive reading. The audience is just supposed to be an innocent witness to something that they ordinarily wouldn't be seeing. So it's different from our usual eye contact with the audience instructions. Dan has been a member of Golden Speakers for about 6 years. He and his wife Jean enjoy watching movies. May have spent quite a bit of time at the theater down in Ottumwa, and both have appreciated a number of Coen Brothers films. And he'll be reading from a screenplay tonight from Raising Arizona, one of the earlier Coen Brothers movies. Dan, welcome.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. The 2 main characters in Raising Arizona are Hy and Ed. Hy is Herbert I. McDonough, a petty criminal who's a frequent convenience store robber. He's married to a former police officer, Edwina, known as Ed. They met when she took his mugshots over the course of several arrests. They want to have children, but Ed is infertile, and they cannot adopt because of Hy's criminal record. He has to check the box. The couple learns of the Arizona Quints, baby boys of locally famous unpainted furniture tycoon Nathan Arizona, who says in an interview that he and his wife have more than they can handle. Ed is desperate to have a child, so Hy and Ed kidnap one of the 5 babies, whom they believe to be Nathan Jr., and take him back to their rundown trailer in Tempe, Arizona. They are soon to receive some unexpected visitors. It is late at night. Hy sits asleep on the sofa at the far end of the living room in a pool of lamplight. We hear faint, distant knocking. The knocking becomes louder and more present. The knocking becomes quite loud. Open up! Hy starts awake with a grunt. Open up in there! He looks alarmed. Open up! It's a police! Hy sits up and tense as he looks around. Ed stands in her nightgown at the mouth of the hallway, holding Nathan Jr. Hy, what's going on? Police, son. Open her up. Hy gets to his feet, reaches under a cushion of the couch, and takes out a gun. Get in the bedroom. They ain't going to take Nathan. Well, I'd like to see him fly. Open up and maybe we'll let you plea bargain. As Ed enters the bedroom, she listens hard at the door. Hy's footsteps cross the living room, the click of the door opening, silence, and then a burst of raucous male laughter. Honey, come on out here. I want you to meet a couple of friends of mine. As Ed enters carrying Nathan Jr., all three men are beaming at her. Honey, like you to meet Gail and Evel Stotz. Fine a pair as ever broke and entered. Boys, this here's my wife. Ma'am. Ms. McDonough. Ed smiles politely. That's Quincy Hy. Kind of late for visitors, isn't it, Hy? Well, yeah, honey, but these boys tell me they just got out of the joint. Got to show a little hospitality. Gail is admiring the baby. Well, now, Hy, looks like you've been up to the devil's business. Avell asks, that a him or a her? It's a little boy. Got a name, does he? Hy and Ed look at each other uncomfortably. Hy clears his throat. Well, so far we just been using Junior. We call him Junior. Say, there's good JR, just like on the TV. Gail is staring at the streamers and decorations, reading aloud. Welcome home, son. Where's he been? Hy and Ed respond simultaneously. Tulsa, Phoenix. He was visiting his grandparents. They're separated. Was that your folks, ma'am? No, I'm afraid not. I thought your folks was dead, H.I. Well, we thought Junior should see their final resting place. Why don't you boys have a seat? As the two men move toward the couch, Ed hesitantly pipes up. Hi, it's 2 in the morning. She wrinkles her nose. What's that smell? We don't always smell like this, Miss McDonough. I was just explaining to your better half here that when we were tunneling out, we hit the main sewer. Dumb luck that. It just followed that to... You mean you busted out of jail? Well, we released ourselves on our own recognizance. What Avell means to say is we felt that the institution no longer had anything to offer to us. He's looking at the baby. My Lord, he's cute. He's a little outlaw, you can see that. Now listen, you folks can't stay here. Gail, Evel, and Hy look up at Ed, dumbstruck, after a beat. You just can't stay. I appreciate being friends with Hy and all, but this is a decent family now. She looks at Hy. I mean, we got a toddler here. Gail leans in close to Hy, a look of sincere concern on his face, and says under his breath, Say, who wears the pants around here, H.I.? Now, honey, don't you honey me. Now you boys can sit a while and catch up, and then you'll be on your way. There's an awkward silence as she leaves and slams the bedroom door. Gail is carefully studying his thumbnail. Evel stares fixedly at the ceiling. Got you on an awful short leash, don't she, H.I.? The following morning, the two men are still there. They're both intently munching cornflakes, staring at Ed, who's sitting on the couch, bottle-feeding Nathan Jr. Awful good cereal flakes, Miss McDonough. She does not respond to the icebreaker. Gail puts his spoon down and picks up a cigarette. He takes a contemplative puff. Why don't you breastfeed him? You appear to be capable. Mind your own business. Threw a mouthful of cornflakes. You don't breastfeed him, he'll hate you for it later. That's why we wound up in prison. Gail blows out smoke, picks up his spoon to start picking up the cornflakes. Anyway, that's what Doc Schwartz tells us. Hy walks in yawning. Boys. Morning, H.I. Ed says sharply as Hy sits and starts to pour cornflakes into a bowl. Hy? Hy holds the cornflakes box arrested in midair. He looks at Ed, who's motioning to Gail and Evel with her eyes. Oh yeah, say boys, you wouldn't mind making yourself scarce for a couple hours this afternoon. We're having some decent friends over. Gail and Evel are looking dumbly from Ed to Hy. What Ed means to say is, seeing as you two boys are wanted, it wouldn't exactly do to have folks seeing you here. I mean, for your own protection. Sure, H.I. Anything you say. Matter of fact, honey, maybe I'll skip this little get-together myself. I'll just duck out with the boys, knock back a couple of Coca-Colas. Sure, H.I. We'd love to have you. Ed looks pleadingly at Hy. Feeling the look, he goes back to his cornflakes. Well, maybe that ain't such a hot idea either. Gail leans back to blow smoke at the ceiling. So many social engagements, so little time. At this point, Ed takes Hy to the convenience store to get some Huggies for Nathan Jr. Ed brings the Huggies up to the counter, but then he falls into his own habits. He pulls out a gun and he sticks up the store. Ed drives away when she sees through the window what's happening. Then there's a long chase involving convenience store clerks with guns, police with guns, dogs, packs of dogs, a carjacking. But Hy gets away, Ed relents, comes back, picks him up, and they go back to the trailer. As Ed bursts into the front door holding Nathan Jr., "You two are leaving!" Gail and Evel look up dumbstruck, mortified from the sofa where they've been watching TV. "Tomorrow morning. Now, I got nothing against you personally." Gail and Evel look appealingly towards Hy. "But you're wanted by the authorities and you're a bad influence in this household, in my opinion." "Well, ma'am, we sure didn't mean to influence anyone. And if we did, we apologize. I'm going into town tomorrow to see about some shots for the baby. When I come back, you better be gone or I'll kick you out myself." She storms into the bedroom and slams the door. There's an awkward silence as Gail studies his thumb and Evel stares at the ceiling. "I'm awful sorry, boys, but when Ed gets mad, you know, when she gets an idea, well, there ain't nothing to apologize for, H.I. It seems pretty clear what the situation is here. Yeah, I guess the missus wants us to clear out. Now, H.I., you'll pardon me for saying so, but I got the feeling that this here, his gesture, seems to take in the whole trailer and the entire domestic situation, ain't exactly working out." "Well, now, Ed's generally a real sweetheart. And as per usual, I wouldn't be surprised if the source of the marital friction was financial. Well, as a matter of fact, I did lose my job today." "Come on, Hy, you're young, you got your health. What do you want with a job?" "But I'd rather light a candle than curse your darkness. As you know, Ella and I never go anywhere without a reason, and here we are in your little domicile. We come to invite you in on a score." "A bank, Hy." "Oh, boys, I know you're partial to convenience stores, but H.I., the sun don't rise and set on the corner grocery. It's like Doc Schwartz says, you got to have a little ambition. Why, we just heard on the news how somebody snatched off one of the Arizona babies. Now there's somebody thinking big. And here you are sitting around on your butt playing house with don't get me wrong, H.I., with a fine woman, but a woman who needs the button-down type. Well, now that ain't really any of your... Just looky here." He's handing Hy a folded-up picture. "Picture of El Dorado, Hy. Though the locals call it the Farmers and Mechanics Bank of LaGrange. Looks like a hayseed bank, and to tell you the truth, it is a hayseed bank. Except the last Friday of every financial quarter, there's more cash in that bank than flies at a barbecue. And guess what day it is tomorrow? You see, H.I., it's when the hayseeds come in to cash their farm subsidy checks. A1 information. Got it in the joint from a guy named Lawrence Spivey, one of Dick Nixon's undersecretaries of Agriculture. He's in for soliciting sex from a state trooper. Ordinarily, we don't associate with that class of person, but he was trying to make some brownie points with some of the boys. Boys, I can't. We need someone handy with a scatter gun to cover the hay seeds while we get the cash. You understand, H.I., if this works out, it's just the beginning of a spree across the entire Southwest proper. We keep going until we can retire or we get caught. Either way, we're fixed for life. Boy, it's a kind offer, but your suggestion that I just up and leave Ed, now that'd be pretty damn cowardly, would it? Would it? Think about it, H.I. Seems to me staying here, you ain't doing her any good, and you ain't being true to your own nature. As we leave the characters here, we wonder, will Hy help rob the bank? Is it his nature to continue his life as a criminal, or will he make good in his new start with Ed? You'll have to watch the movie to find out.
Thank you, Dan. I had so much fun reliving that scene that kind of forgot what my job was here. Thankfully, I'm just up here for a brief spell. I'm going to call up our general evaluator.
2 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Take 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Up here longer than I thought. Welcome back. And now it's my pleasure to call up our general evaluator, Leslie Hollis.
Fellow Toastmasters. We are now at the second portion of our meeting, which is the evaluation section. So I need to ask Fraser. Oh, let's see. Are we skipping something?
No, it's fine.
Vote for best speaker?
You need to do the timing on the vote for the speaker.
Okay, do you want me to do it? Or
Oh, I can do it.
go for it, Leslie.
All right.
You're up.
So which speaker is qualified, Fraser?
Jean Craig, qualified. That was
One?
won't be one speaker qualified.
Aha. Okay. So I guess no need to vote.
No.
All right. So moving on to the evaluation section. I'll call up the evaluator of the first speech, which was Dennis's speech, Will Burns.
Golden speakers, guests, viewers at home, and most especially Dennis. I'm going to talk about this speech in 3 parts: your content, your presentation, and your conclusion. Starting off here with your content. You had a great hook. Do you value national security, competitive economic competition and innovation, and a lower carbon footprint? I guarantee you'd probably catch somebody on at least one of those 3. So that was a great choice here. Did you also include energy independence in there as well?
I think so. I was supposed to.
You're supposed to. Well,
But I did.
I would have struck. If you did, I would have struck it. Kept with the 3. You know, that triad.
Yeah.
3's good. 4's a little. Another aspect of your content. This idea of national muscles glistening in the sun, I thought was a particularly surprisingly vivid sort of image for me. Maybe for better or for worse. And then your analogy of using that nuclear reactor up in the sky, I thought was a particularly sort of apt way to tie in sort of an energy paradigm there, or a different energy source. But as far as the presentation, one of your greatest strengths is your enthusiasm. However, one of your greatest weaknesses is that enthusiasm makes it tough for you to tap into sort of the downward emotions. I recommend slowing down, tapping into that fear and sorrow. Talking about, If we don't get out of this cycle, we're just trapped in a constant cycle of genocide, conflict, famine, and suffering for us, our children, and our grandchildren. But hey, man, I loved your shirt. I thought your shirt was awesome. And I would recommend when you present, just maybe use a triad there, because you had 3 great points. Just tie them into that. Finally, your call of action. You made a very, well, let's back it up here. My suggestion for your conclusion, I would urge you to do a specific call to action for your conclusion. Make it specific. I urge you to speak to me afterward for an energy assessment, all free, of course, and start your investment in national security, economic competition. I mean, the assessment's free, guys. I mean, come on. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's going to cost money to sign up, but hey, just make it clear that there's no pressure to get an assessment, and lower carbon footprint. But you made a strong case for action. You just got to line us up to what to do. But Dennis's enthusiasm is an energizing force here at Golden Speakers, and his depth of knowledge is a light illuminating the darkness. Dennis, please share a note with us here soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'll call up the second evaluator for Jean Symington Craig's speech, Art Atkinson.
So, fellow Toastmasters and Jean. Talk about diving into a large, complex subject. Jean had, it was 7 to 9, had 7 to 9, and chewed off more than she could accomplish in 7 to 9. What I liked about the speech was the fact that she laid out the complexities in every direction on this. And the clarity with which Jean is well known in the club for her ability to go into depth on a topic and explain the subtleties of it. How well did the topic apply to us? I thought it applied to us moderately well. It would have applied very well to a group of entrepreneurs or small business owners or business managers in the HR division of a larger company. The topic was very well researched. She used a variety of sources. NOLO, an acronym, National Organization for, I've forgotten the meaning of the NOLO, and NELP, 2 national organizations, a company called Just the Facts, which is in the business of supplying information necessary to help companies make hiring decisions on candidates. A gentleman named Michael Stoll, who's an authority in this field and had an opinion that registered with some weight, and a newspaper editorial, if I remember correctly, which explained some of the complexities for one side of the argument. My impression was that Jean was showing her debate team experience here and actually attempting to cover both sides, pro and con, of a debate. My suggestion for how this could have been fit into 7 to 9 minutes and been a more effective speech would have been to let us know from the beginning that her opinion was in favor of the ban the box, and to argue only the pro side of the argument so as to make it feasible to cover in the allotted time. She did a good job of acknowledging that there were complexities on both sides, but it would have been better to take the stance, I believe, from the beginning, just acknowledge that there is reason on the other side, but stick to arguing one side of equation. Madam General Evaluator.
I'd like to call up our third evaluator, Suzanne McCain, evaluating Dan Craig's speech.
I feel that Dan did a wonderful job of striking a good balance between giving each of the characters a distinctive voice so we could sort of track what was going on in the story a little bit better than if he just read it, but not getting so into trying to act out the characters that it was distracting from the flow of his reading of the play. So yes, he did give the individual characters some distinct voices and so forth. You also, Dan, did some moving around to help us track who was where and know this is this person talking now, this is that person talking. So I thought that was also very effective. What about the plot of the play? Was it clear? Was the play properly cut so it flowed smoothly and were the transitions clear? I think Dan did an excellent job of putting the scene into context. It was a pretty complicated scenario of action with them being in the house, then going out and robbing this convenience store, coming back. It was sort of complex, a little hard to keep track of in a way. And much of the reading was, this person is now sitting, eating breakfast at the dinner table or something like that. So a lot of it had to sort of be descriptions of their actions. And that may have been a little bit of a weakness, I'm not sure, in the smoothness of the process. How did the speaker build up to the climax of the play? Well, he did say something at the end about, will they actually go out and rob the bank? Or will he stick with his new life inside the law or something like that? And so that was a little bit of a dramatic ending, and yes, you'll have to see the movie to find out what happens. So I thought that was very effective. Eye contact with the audience, not particularly, you didn't have that. You did have eye contact at the beginning when you were setting the context, and at the end when you said, okay, you'll all have to go see the movie. But otherwise you were busy sort of reading it and more or less acting it out to some degree. What could the speaker have done differently to improve the presentation? Possibly streamlined it or smoothed it out a little bit with fewer action step descriptions. However, overall, I felt it was a very entertaining, outrageous, humorous reading, interpretive reading of this play. So thank you very much, Dan.
And now we're ready for table topics. And I'd like to introduce our table topics master for tonight, Hy-Vee.
I'm not sure how much time we have. We finish at 9:15 or
No, let's see.
9:30?
I gave you 6 minutes, that's a short.
6 minutes to ask or to answer.
Three.
Could do three.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So at least two.
okay.
So at least two.
Only 2 questions.
Well, because we're. so
Okay,
close
that's
to
fine.
the
I think we're okay, because right now it's, what, 50? It's 10 till?
It's 5 to.
5
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Get them going.
Yeah, wasting time.
If they speak
Yeah.
short, you might get.
Fellow
Like this.
Toastmasters and you are at home. Our theme today is about the Halloween. I think we have the only one he is not contributing today. He's not here. I will ask a question. I will see who will answer. So you have the time to think before you.
Oh, no, we don't know. You don't get to think.
No think.
No, you gotta come up and.
Okay, I read that in the manual. That's fine. Who wants to?
You want? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I wish you will use your word because you,
Yes, I will.
nobody
definitely.
used it.
Two people used it actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Will and somebody else. So, Halloween, yes.
Yeah, I have 6-7 questions.
Okay, let's pick a number.
Yeah.
Let's go with 6.
Okay. Do you believe in ghosts? Why or why not?
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, ghosts. Greetings, Toastmasters, guests, no guests, and viewers at home. We are 7 to 8 days away from Halloween, and every year people go out in the streets and they expect to find treats and joyful encounters with friends and family members all dressed up in costumes. I guess you used to as a kid at least. But I guess my belief about Halloween and ghosts is that ghosts are real. Just to straight up be upfront about ghosts, I think ghosts are our I think it's a metaphor for our fears, our insecurities, our fears and insecurities. Really, I don't think there's that like. Casper, right? We all know Casper. He's not a real ghost. I mean, he's just in a movie. But he's not, I don't think a ghost is a typical white hooded figure that just floats through the air that we see. I think a ghost is more something that we just don't want to address in ourselves. Maybe like, we walk into Toastmasters and we have a little bit of fear. Like, oh my God, public speaking is the worst fear. So I think ghosts don't exist in the sense of the word that they are a physical object that is perceivable. Although there's a twist to this story. I have seen a ghost one time, like a legitimate ghost. I was in a basement of a house and there was no lights, right? It's a dark room. So imagine this, picture this. You're in a basement, you're just walking down the stairs, and then all of a sudden, not figurines, not hooded, not facial ghosts showed up, but an actual light just beaming through the room. Just all sorts of lights and objects. I wasn't on drugs, and yet, there were these indescribable, mystical phenomena that I couldn't describe that existed in that basement. And I was definitely not in a state of equanimity. I was uneasy, and and that's the story. Ghosts are real. Thank you.
Who wants to try?
Number 3.
Number 3. Okay. We can say that the strangest holidays in the world, there's a couple of them. One of them is the Llama Tomato in Spain, where they throw tomatoes on each other. There is a straw beer day in England. They build a beer of straw. There is the Feast of Anastasia in Bulgaria. In this holiday, they walk in the fire. There is Halloween from Ireland. Do you think these holidays related to surrounding environments and nature, or it's something they derived from an ancient beliefs and faiths, or it's something else?
Toastmasters and guests, I think this is a fascinating question. What is the origin, the seed idea that gets all of these this great variety of traditions and celebrations and festivals around the world? And why such a profuse variety? I think that there are accidents of history, accidents of cultural belief that lead to these. My own opinion is that Halloween is just a bizarre celebration that I don't understand or have much interest in. But one that I do find fascinating and interesting is another one of these accidental celebrations, I'll call it. I have a mask at home up on the wall, a paper mache mask gotten in Puerto Rico. It's called a vejigante. And a vejigante actually refers to a village in far western Puerto Rico where the celebration happens in the spring each year. A vejiga is an inflated goat's bladder, kind of like a large balloon. And when you rub the surface of a highly inflated balloon, it gives off a squeaky, groaning, roaring sort of sound. Well, an inflated goat's bladder does the same. And young men manufacture, they create these masks, wear them, and run around town playing practical jokes on people and surprising people, jumping out and making the noises with the inflated goat's bladder that they're carrying. All of this just before Easter. And nowhere else in Puerto Rico do they do this, except the masks are sold everywhere all over Puerto Rico as memorabilia, keepsakes. And it is a fascinating, grotesque mask. Another one of the accidental celebrations with its own unique characteristics.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Timer, could you please just who is qualified?
Only one qualified, that is.
Okay, so we don't need to. Okay. Our general evaluator or Toastmaster?
Topics evaluator. Who's the table topics evaluator?
Who's the?
Emery.
Okay.
Emery's
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. We had two table topics speakers tonight. Both spoke with great equanimity. Did I say that correctly? Equanimity. Okay. Prana, you greeted the audience, and you came up with a very interesting and insightful thought. Ghosts as a metaphor for personal insecurities rather than physical objects. And I thought you did a great job with that. And my comment is that I wish you had just stopped with that. The red light was on, and then you shifted gears from not believing in ghosts as physical objects to a time you saw a ghost as a physical object. And to me, that just muffled the excellent point you had made. Art, these bizarre holidays as accidents of history, accidents of cultural belief. I think you turned a couple of nice phrases there, and then you adroitly segued to this mask and festival, the Hy-Vee? Okay, I didn't even come close. You explained it as inflated goat's bladder. So it was fascinating. My only suggestion to you is when you are dealing with a exotic term from another language like that, for those of us who don't get out much, if you might spell it and explain it a little more thoroughly. So, 2 fine table topic speeches. Do I need to do anything else, or can I turn it back to the
Evaluator comes up.
evaluator?
So, Fraser, can we have the, which of the evaluators qualified?
All evaluators qualified.
Okay.
They were Will Burns, Adam Dixon, Susanna, and Emery.
Okay. So we need a few minutes on the clock. Everyone vote for the best evaluator. Okay. We'll start with our reports from our timer first. Fraser.
Dennis took 7 minutes 35 seconds. Jean Symington Craig took 10 minutes 23 seconds. And Dan Craig was at 13 minutes 21 seconds. On table topics, Fana was 2 minutes 43 seconds. Art Atkinson, 2 minutes 20 seconds. On the speech evaluators, Will Burns was at 3 minutes 9 seconds, and Art Atkinson and Susanna McCain were at 3 minutes 18 seconds. And Emery was at 3 minutes. Yes.
Thank you.
That's all.
Now we'll hear the report from our grammarian, Rhonda Miller.
Thank you. Leslie? All right. Word of the day was used by Will Burns, Dennis Gomez, Emery Styron, and myself. And just a few notable phrases. I liked Will's use of the word, the speeches being tofu steaks of the meeting. Dennis saying the old energy paradigm can end, and solar panels are coming out in all types of products. It's great to hear. You know, it's like windows, doors, everywhere. You can get solar panels in anything these days. It's inspirational to hear that. Listening and glistening in the sun. I heard you say listening and glistening. Maybe I misheard you. Maybe you tripped up. I don't know if it was I don't know what you were intending to say, but that's what I heard. So your muscles, your solar muscles. I think there was just a slip up of your tongue there. Art, you said that Jean was balancing both sides of the argument in her speech as a debate. I think that was a good, astute observation of her speech. I believe, Will, you said the assessment is free. I mean, the assessment is free, guys. Sign up. The investment isn't, but come on. I mean, it's great. Wherever you are, Will, there you are. Yeah. The interpretive reading by Dan, the carjacking, police with guns, robbers with guns. The sun doesn't rise and set on the corner store. Why don't we go to one of those Arizona babies? We go until we retire or we're fixed for life. Either way, whatever. So yeah, that was a cool quote. Susanna, he has to check the box. Or somebody slipped that in there. It was a reference to Jean's speech. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Rana. And now our joke master, Hy-Vee.
This was more complex than the Halloween things because jokes related to the culture more. But I found something related to. A little girl asked her father, "Daddy, do all fairy tales begin with once upon a time?" He said, "No. There is a whole series of fairy tales start or begin with, if elected, I promise." Other thing is, it's not a joke, but today when I read email to Will, he said, "I'm sorry, I just gave you another role." I thought in my mind, usually he just write star or Rick Star. It looks like to be determined or something. I don't know who this person. Usually we have this name in the here, and we determine in the meeting.
He does exist.
Yeah, he's exist.
Yeah. he's not
Okay.
close.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Now it's time for the general report from the general evaluator who generally evaluates things in general. Our meeting started roughly on time, so you know the general evaluator evaluates everything from the appearance of the room to the other evaluators. So I think our room looks pretty great. We have some fantastic awards, and it was set up well. And I think that things went very smoothly. So to get to the evaluators, first evaluator, Will Burns, I thought you gave very good evaluation, and you addressed the speech, Dennis's speech, with similar humor that the speech was presented. But I did think you made a good point about there were some points about your speech that were pretty serious and that we're dealing with, and so to change your tone. So that was a very good observation. But fantastic speech. I want solar panels now, so thank you. And hopefully we can get me the hookup. And Art, evaluating Jean, you gave a very effective evaluation on a complex topic. And the detail with which you addressed her speech showed that you were very engaged with her speech. So I'm not going to go over it. You evaluated her speech, so I'm not going to go into those points, but it was very well done. And you are all so expert. I'm not sure quite how I got to be the general evaluator this early in the game, but thank you for the opportunity. It's difficult, I think, to evaluate some of you seasoned people, but one toe in, jump in. The evaluator for the third speech, which was Susanna McCain for Dan Craig's speech or oration, I guess we could call it. That was a difficult one, and I could relate to what you were talking about with going in from character to character and then switching from location. I thought you picked up on that because it was a little hard to follow, although I've seen the movie and it's really, I thought you did a wonderful job with the voices, Dan, so Thank you. That was wonderful. And let's see here. Emery. I thought you gave a good evaluation of the table topics. And Hadaifa, you did good research on, it was table topics, but you gave the impression that you really sort of dived into the subject of Halloween. So thanks for your attention on that. And that's my report. Thank you.
Don't abandon ship.
Okay, we've gotten through it. We've survived. We've faced our demons, our specters, the ghosts of speech failed past. And now we're here. And we're running out of time here. We're out of time, so let's just power through it here. Okay. For best evaluator, since the others didn't qualify. Will Burns. Kind of awkward. Here. Always an honor, a pleasure to evaluate and to be chosen for so many august evaluators. For our number 9 speech, Per Se with Power, Dennis Gomez. Number 7, which is your topic, Jean Symington Craig. You can give it right back, but we want to get experience here. And now it's my pleasure to call up our president, Dennis Gomez.
Thank you, everybody. Congratulations. Job well done by everybody. Role players, viewers at home, and everybody is members today. Some things to cover quick. I forgot to read the mission of our club, but well done. You guys have provided a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has had the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. I'm just reading that just because I forgot to read it at the beginning of the meeting. That's pretty much it. But great job. We're enforcing the mission of the club today. Also, that's a filler word right there. Business Lectern Award and meeting. So it's not exactly right here, but I'm gonna get on top of that and figure out where exactly the award should be right there. So basically, though, to fill everybody in, Will and I attended a business meeting on Saturday where we looked at a couple of things, such as potentially where some future district meetings will be, and we will be following up with that information with all of you in the near future when the time arises for that. It was exciting to see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of people in the whole District 19 throughout Iowa, and I believe part of Missouri, possibly, too. Yeah, a little time.
Iowa and change.
Yeah, so that was a fun time. We heard some great speeches from some top-notch speakers in the area. So I would encourage any of you to attend the next district business meeting, and because there's a contest right after that. The meeting, it's a meeting, so it's parts are good and parts are meeting. So that was great. Is there any business that anybody would like to address at the moment? Would you like to talk about things after
Probably next
meeting,
time.
since we're a bit short of time? Okay. Anything else, anybody? Okay, if not, remember, get this filled in for all of you who have been role players. And this meeting is over. Thank you, everybody.